This video is brought to you by Squarespace. When you think of 1960s London, one song captures its spirit better than almost any other. But behind that upbeat, brassy sound lies a remarkable story. A songwriter inspired by New York, a British singer ready for reinvention, and a recording session that brought together some of the most talented musicians in London. I'm Andrew from Parlogram, and to celebrate Petula Clark's brand new autobiography, we're heading downtown to explore how she and Tony Hatch created one of the greatest pop records of the decade. In the summer of 1964, Pye producer Tony Hatch was in New York on business, scouting for new songs for artists back home. One night, he stepped out of his hotel near Central Park and towards the dazzling lights of Times Square. Then, right there on the corner of 48th Street, surrounded by traffic, neon and noise, a melody struck him. He pulled out his notebook and wrote down a single word: downtown. A song bursting with the energy of the city, perfect, he thought, for the Drifters. By 1964, Petula Clark was already a seasoned star, not just in Britain, but across Europe too. Her career began in 1942, when at the age of 9, she sang on the BBC's Overseas Forces Service radio programme, where children could send messages to family members serving abroad. After the war, she became a familiar face in films and on television variety shows, even hosting her own called Pet's Parlour. She released her first record in 1949 on the independent Polygon label founded by her father. A string of hits followed, and when Polygon was sold to Pye in 1955, Petula's fame only grew. But a booking in France in 1957 changed everything. There she met Claude Wolff, her publicist and soon-to-be husband, and with his support she became a major star across Europe, recording fluently in French, Italian, German and Spanish. She achieved her first UK number one in 1960 with Sailor, but her career at that point was squarely focused on the continent.
1963.
By 1963, Britain was on the verge of a musical revolution. The Beatles were changing the rules, and the new beat group sound was sweeping away the polite pop of the previous decade. Despite all her talent and fame, Petula, now 30 years old, suddenly found herself on the wrong side of a rapidly evolving musical scene. If her career was to continue, she needed a song that sounded fresh, modern, and unmistakably now. Tony Hatch was one of the most versatile and quietly influential figures in British pop. Unlike many Tin Pan Alley writers, he understood both sides of early 60s music, the orchestral sophistication of pre-rock ballads, and the punchier rhythm of the new beat era. He'd started his career at Top Rank Records, working with future Decca A&R man Dick Rowe. After Top Rank was sold to EMI in 1961, he moved to Pye Records, where he helped his mentor Alan Freeman record Petula's first number one single, Sailor. Then, under pseudonyms like Mark Anthony and Fred Nightingale, he wrote hit songs for others, including Forget Him by Bobby Rydell, and more notably Sugar and Spice for The Searchers, with whom he went on to produce a string of hit singles and albums. By 1964, encouraged by that success, he was eager to demonstrate that Britain could produce pop records as grand and exciting as anything from New York. He aimed to craft something modern, a song that could connect the worlds of pop and showbiz, London and America. In late September 1964, Hatch travelled to Petula's apartment in Paris to play her some demos, in the hope of convincing her to record more English language material. One afternoon, while Petula was making tea in the kitchen, Hatch sat at her piano and began playing the melody he'd sketched in New York. As soon as she heard it, it stopped her in her tracks. It was only a tune, no lyrics yet, but she told him, "If you can write words as good as that melody, I'll record it." Pye Studio No. 1, located in the basement of ATV House, was a modest 40 by 30 foot room. It certainly wasn't Abbey Road, but it had warmth and character and a distinctive sound. Tony Hatch often left arrangements until the last minute, and this session was no different. 30 minutes before the red light came on, he was still scribbling lyric changes in the studio lavatory. The lineup of musicians was remarkable. There was ace session drummer Ronnie Verrell, Big Jim Sullivan, Vic Flick and a young Jimmy Page on guitars, and the Breakaways on backing vocals. They were accompanied by a full orchestra, consisting of 8 violins, 2 violas, 2 cellos, 5 woodwinds, 4 trumpets and 4 trombones, all conducted by Bob Leeper. Pye Studio 1 employed a Neumann 4-track console, an Ampex 4-track tape machine, tannoy monitors in Lockwood cabinets, and 2 EMT 140 plate reverbs. Ray Prickett was Tony Hatch's go-to engineer and a master of his craft. He wasn't chasing isolation, he wanted energy and a big ambient sound. Ronnie Verrell's drums had 3 microphones on them, a Sennheiser 421 on the bass drum and a pair of Neumann 47s overhead, which gave the record its crisp snap and airy cymbals. Bass and guitars were mic'd, and the piano had a Neumann SM2 placed underneath its half-closed lid and draped for isolation. 2 mics cover the 8 violins, 1 each on violas and cellos, 3 for woodwinds, 2 on trumpets, 2 on trombones, and U47s for the vocals.
When you're alone and life is making you lonely, you can always go downtown.
No over-engineering, no tricks, just musicianship and expert microphone placement. Also, nobody wore headphones, yet Petula remained perfectly in tune. Just as Petula Clark and Tony Hatch were reinventing how British pop was presented to the world, if you want to create a place online to present your ideas, Squarespace is the way to do it. With Squarespace, you can build a beautiful website quickly and easily. No coding needed. Their award-winning templates give you that clean, professional look right out of the box. And if you're a musician, collector, or even a vinyl seller, you can host a gallery of your collection, share videos just like this one, or even set up a full online store. They also offer powerful SEO tools, built-in analytics, and my favorite, seamless integration of video content directly onto your pages. To give it a try, head on over to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Parlogram to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
1964.
Tracks 1 and 2 on the 4-track tape contained a stereo mix of the entire orchestra, with Petula and the Breakaways on tracks 3 and 4. Simple, but brilliant. They recorded 3 takes of Downtown, from which take 2 was chosen as the master. Prickett mixed the instruments live, placing the rhythm in the centre, strings wide, brass split left-right, and the woodwind across the middle, producing a fantastic spread of sound. When it came to the final mix, there wasn't that much to do, and Prickett's main task was to add the lead and backing vocals at the proper levels to the instrumental backing. However, there was no rush, as unlike unionised studios like Abbey Road, Pye could work past 10 p.m, so they mixed through the night to meet the pressing plant deadline. Downtown, backed with a non-album B-side You Better Love Me, was released in the UK on the Cerise Pink Pye label on the 30th of October 1964 and became Petula's first single to chart in 2 years.
Downtown.
By Christmas week, it had risen to number 2, where it stayed for 3 weeks, kept off the top only by the Beatles' I Feel Fine. But it earned Petula a silver disc for domestic sales of over 500,000, and an Ivor Novello Award as 1964's Outstanding Song of the Year. It also reached the top 5 in countries as distant as Ireland and India, and hit number 1 in Australia, New Zealand, South Africa and Zimbabwe, back then called Rhodesia. Petula also re-recorded it in several languages, proving just how universal its message was.
Il n'y a plus dans cette ville la joie qu'il y avait avant. Dans le temps, da wo das Leben überall in den Straßen so viel Lichter hat. Downtown, ritorna al mar dove ho sognato con te e sembra dirmi ciao. Ciao, ciao.
Now, Pye executives weren't convinced when they first heard it. However, Warner Brothers talent scout in London Joe Smith knew a hit when he heard it and immediately licensed it for US release. Issued in America in December, Downtown was climbing the charts by Christmas, and on January the 25th, 1965, it reached number 1, where it stayed for 2 weeks, and made Petula Clark the first British solo female artist of the rock era to top the Billboard Hot 100. It also made her the first British female singer to earn a gold record in America for sales of 1 million copies, and the honour of a Grammy for 1965's Best Rock and Roll Song. Its success was truly extraordinary and nearly accidental. While the Beatles and the Stones brought raw guitar-driven power, Downtown offered something more refined, cosmopolitan, cinematic, sophisticated. It made adult American listeners feel like they were part of the new exciting world they'd been reading about in Life magazine's spreads on swinging London, and Petula, elegant and confident, became its grown-up ambassador. Stylish, smart and glamorous, as well as catchy. Her live appearance on The Ed Sullivan Show on the 14th of March 1965, where she performed both Downtown and its follow-up, I Know a Place, sealed the deal. But Downtown didn't stop there. Almost immediately, it became one of those songs that everyone wanted to sing.
When you're alone and life is making you lonely, you can always go downtown.
America fell in love with Petula and her sound. Shows at the Hollywood Bowl and Las Vegas followed, along with appearances on The Tonight Show and Hullabaloo, not to mention a string of major US hits. Almost overnight, Petula Clark became a global star, and Downtown was the song that opened the door. Downtown didn't just revive Petula's career, it helped define the very sound of swinging London. Polished yet modern, optimistic yet worldly, it arrived just as the capital was changing from post-war grey into a hub of art, fashion and design. Downtown embodied that transformation. New generations rediscovered it too. In 1979, the B-52s turned it into a new wave celebration on their debut album. In 1988, the original recording was remixed and released as Downtown 88 and became a top 10 hit in the UK. Emma Bunton took the song back into the top 3 when it became the official BBC Children in Need charity single in 2006. Followed in December 2011 by a duet with Irish rockers the Saw Doctors. And it's appeared in films and TV, from Girl Interrupted and Lost in Translation to The Good Place and countless others. Few songs feel so completely of their time, yet remain so beyond it, because at its heart, Downtown speaks to something universal. The urge to escape, to connect, the hope that life might be better just a few streets away. For a few minutes in 1964, Petula Clark and Tony Hatch bottled that feeling, and it's never faded. 60 years on, Downtown still balances joy with melancholy. Loneliness answered by the promise of the city, a record of its time that remains completely beyond it. It's one of the first songs I remember hearing on the radio, and my children love it too. And honestly, I don't know anyone who doesn't love this record. But what about you? Do let me and everyone else know your memories and feelings about Downtown in the comments. Petula Clark's autobiography Is That You, Petula has just been published. It's full of amazing stories from her long career and I highly recommend it. I'll be back next week with more incredible stories of 60s music. But that's all for this one, so I'll say bye for now and thanks for watching.
Okay.